Hello everyone, it's Ralph Humphrey here. This is episode 2 of Rhythmic Awareness. If you saw episode 1 last week, we talked about metric accents. And so I'm trying to go through what I call the components of rhythm to help everybody understand just how rhythm works. So today's topic is time signatures, notes, and subdivisions of notes. So we understand our system to be duple in nature. This comes from the Western European tradition. And so in our music, we see a time signature, and it tells us some very important things. The top number of a time signature tells us how many beats there are in a measure. And the bottom number tells us the kind of note that gets the beat. Well, what kind of notes are there? What are we used to seeing when we read music? We see 2, which would represent a half note. We see 4, which represents a quarter note. 8, representing an eighth note. 16, representing a 16th note. 32, representing a 32nd note. And 64 even, representing a 64th note. You would think, there's no such thing. Well, there is. I've seen it. It's not pretty. All right. Anyhow, back up a little bit. I said 2. There's also 1. Okay, not very often that you'll see a 1 in the bottom of a time signature, but 1 represents a whole note. All right, it's a duple value. Okay, so you might think, well, what about other numbers? How come the other numbers are not in the bottom of a time signature? Numbers like 6, 10, 14, and then all the odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Well, it's because those notes were never invented. We don't have a third note, a quint note, a sep note, a non-note. All right? Nevertheless, those values do exist in our music, just not as a note value, okay? Well, at least in the bottom of a time signature, okay? So we'll explain that in a little bit here. All right, so one thing that we've gotten used to is the triplet, okay, or the number 3, which divides a duple value into 3 pieces, artificial. But 5 and 7, 9, 11 even, much less common, harder to understand because we don't hear it in our music much. I've often wondered, why is that? I also want to say that you don't want to confuse a triplet with a triple value. Okay, what is a triple value? It's a duple note that has a dot behind it. And that dot represents half the value of the note. So if you see a dotted quarter note, it's a quarter note plus half the value of a quarter note, so it would be worth 3/8 notes. Don't confuse triple value with triplet. They are 2 entirely different note values. Okay, this brings us to the next part of this discussion, which is a little exercise I've devised. And basically, it sets a ground of 4 beats, but I want 1 and 3 to be the primary beats, and then 2 and 4 to be the secondary beats. And so the 1 and the 3 will be palm to palm clap, and the 2 and the 4 will be back of the palm to palm clap. So it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. To that, I'm going to count over the top, starting with number 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, now these are cross rhythms, but a lot of them are going to line up beautifully with the beat. But the others, the odd ones especially, will not line up so well, okay? But I want you to try this anyhow, and this is going to help you understand how odd values can work in an even flow. All right, so here we go. We're going to start with that clap. 1, 2, ready, go. Number 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. All right. How was that for you? You may want to go back and review that again and try to clap along and count along. And if you're still struggling with the odd notes, I understand. But I had to learn how to handle these values in the music I play by learning about it, educating myself, and then through experience. I got plenty of experience with certain bands that I've played with over the years, Frank Zappa being one of them. Okay. Now, incidentally, Frank Zappa used a lot of artificial values in his music, and it was up to the band to get used to the pacing or the tempo of those values and then try to make them as musical as possible. This was the challenge, and thank God we pulled it off. So, but Frank also would write artificial values in his own way. So take the number 7, for example, okay? Now, if this is 4/4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What value would I write that 7 as, okay? So if this is a quarter note, the 7 is not quite an eighth note yet. We don't get to the eighth note until we reach 8. All right, so 7 resides between 6 and 8. You could actually show the 7 as, in this case, quarter notes or eighth notes. Frank would choose to show them as eighth notes. All right, so we had to get used to Frank's notation of a septuplet, for example, when in fact we have not reached the tempo of an eighth note yet. So my system, I would rather see that as a quarter note septuplet as opposed to an eighth note septuplet. That's just me and my system. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's used by other people because it's not written in stone how you show an artificial value. Okay, that's just an aside. All right, so that exercise can really help you with understanding groups of notes in a time flow, okay? Now, you don't have to see them in written notation. You just have to place them in the right place. The half note triplet, for example, which was the 3/4, is based on the eighth note triplet grouped 4 at a time. So here's my clap again. So 1, 2, 3. 1 ta ta 2 ta ta 3 ta ta 4 ta ta 1 ta ta 2 ta ta 3 ta ta 4 ta ta 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. The quintuplet and the septuplet much harder because I'm not using a note value that is common to me. The triplet, I've grown used to it. Quintuplets, not so much. Septuplets, not so much. So you have to work on that. Work on making the evenness of the 5 and the evenness of the 7 and even the evenness of the 9. Incidentally, the 9, I was actually subdividing the 9, 3 plus 3 plus 3. How did I do that? By taking the half note triplet, which I somewhat understand, and cutting it into 3 pieces. So I'm making an artificial value out of an artificial value. Interesting. Anyhow, hopefully that gives you some things to work on, things to think about. We're going to move into a new topic next week. So far, we've been talking about more traditional notation and the metric system and the important things that are involved in our music that we know. Next week, we're going to talk about things that don't necessarily involve or need things like what we've been talking about. And it's called the cyclic system. And it will be quite interesting. So please tune in. Until then, Have a great day, and please be safe out there. Take care.